ReadJunk. ReadJunk. ReadJunk Podcast.
ReadJunk Podcast with your host, my guy.
Hey, what's up, everyone? It's the ReadJunk Podcast. I'm your host, Bryan Kremkau. I'm back. Been on a bit of a little hiatus for the last 2 months, but it's going to start releasing some new podcast episodes soon, starting with today. Just have to line up some guests and get things rolling again. Mainly just needed a break since I was going to Disney World and needed to focus on vacation and other stuff like that. Trip was great. I had a blast going on all the rides. Galaxy's Edge was awesome. Highly recommend going to that at night. That's the best time to go. Or in the morning too, but nighttime is the best time to go because the ride isn't as long for Smuggler's Run. My 4-year-old son went on all the rides with me, and he didn't get too scared, mainly just one or two, dinosaur probably being one of them. But he handled it really well. Can't wait to go back. I'll probably have an episode about Disney World in the future with my buddy Frank, who just went there as well. So what else is going on? I've mainly been designing a lot of shirts the last few months, so I've been working on that a lot, which you can see on my TeePublic page, tpublic.com/user/Bryan Kremkau. Be sure to check out my new designs I got on there. I got a bunch of variety of things, and you can also follow me on Bryan Kremkau Designs on Instagram as well. For this podcast episode, I wanted to get back into things and talk about New York Comic Con with Ray and Joe, who write for the site. I wasn't able to go this year, so I just wanted to hear what happened and what was there and things like that. Plus, we start off with a non-spoiler discussion about the Joker movie, which I haven't seen it yet, so I made sure that they weren't spoiling things for me. So lots of talk about that and New York Comic Con this episode. If you're not following ReadJunk on social media, please do so, and please write a review about us on Apple Podcasts. A nice one, preferably, that'd be nice. You can subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Podbean, or wherever you get podcasts. We're all over the place. So let's get into it. Here's my talk with Ray and Joe about the Joker and New York Comic Con right here on the ReadJunk Podcast. All right, so I'm here with Ray and Joe and myself, even though I didn't go to Comic-Con, but I'm pretty much want to ask these guys just how their time was there at the Comic-Con this year since I wasn't able to go. My brother went, but of course he was only there for maybe half the day, and then he's like, there's too many fucking people, and like...
I saw that post that he actually posted. I was here for half of the day, and then I took pictures of the rest of the city.
Yeah, he's like, I'm like, just go outside and take pictures. Like, I walk on the floor like once and that's it. And then I'm like, then half the time I'm just outside taking pictures of cosplay the whole time.
Yeah, I felt this year, as far as the cosplayers go, it just, at least on the first day, it seemed like the cosplayers weren't in as abundance as they were in previous years.
Really?
Obviously, there were cosplayers like around, and you can see them and identify them, but like not to the point where like one out of every bunch of people were cosplayers like in other years. Well,
I know up by where they have the press lounge, they started it last year and it expanded. They have cosplay panels on how to and stuff like that. So that's where when you go up to the press lounge, it was just nothing but cosplayers everywhere. So They might have all been gathering up there, or so.
Or they're outside by the food trucks usually. Yeah.
Well, but the way I also gauged it too, though, was Brian. Remember, like when we would chill in that area, at Comic-Con, all you would do is just stand in that one area, and all you had to do is just stand there and they would just be there, and it would just be a never-ending stream of cosplayers through that one area. But it
wasn't like that this year.
It didn't seem like that. No, I mean it seemed like there was a lot less cosplayers or people doing the cosplay. But maybe the weather had something to do with it because it did definitely rain for the majority of the day.
What day was this?
This was Thursday.
Thursday.
Anyway,
okay.
Yeah.
You both went Thursday and Friday, or?
I was there on Thursday, which was my usual day,
okay.
and
that's usually
so I wasn't there the rest of the days.
Yeah, Thursdays I've found of going for a few years now. Thursday is the best day. Friday gets intense. I've never been on a Saturday just because I feel like that's the worst day to go. And then Sunday I went once, and I was gonna go Sunday this year, and I was just so tired from my vacation at Disney. I was like, I just did 31,000 steps the night before. I'm like, I'm not gonna do this again tomorrow. Like, just stand around.
And you might have broke that too, though, if you went to Comic-Con. You might have broke that
the step goal. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I think my step goal for Thursday was like 6 miles. it was insane. Because after we went to the Comic-Con, we went to Times Square and went to see the Joker. So we were still walking around. Yeah, me and Ray have kind of mixed opinions. It wasn't terrible. I don't think it's what everyone says how artsy and amazing it was. It was a good movie. Just wasn't what I was expect of a Joker movie. I think it was a Joker movie that isn't really a Joker movie.
I could see that based on the trailer. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, so it's
and that's what I kind of expected going into it. Where I knew that it was probably going to go against most people's expectations, and it was probably going to be a very polarizing movie where you either loved it or hated it, or you just had like a mixed opinion about it. And I feel, though, after watching it, that it's probably going to end up being a very underrated film after a couple more years. Like, people are going to, eventually, come to qualms with the movie and say, hey, this is actually a pretty good movie. And it's probably going to end up being a very underrated comic book movie.
I don't think it's underrated because it's breaking box office records, and it's probably Joaquin Phoenix is going to get nominated for an actor.
Yeah, but it's breaking October box office records, and if you know the history of like the comic book movies, the Marvel movies are usually released in November. Like, what comes out other than some horror movies like Halloween and stuff like that?
But what I'm saying, though,
October,
it's still people are going to see it, though.
Yeah, they are.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like I can understand what Ray's saying is that it's not going to be jumbled in with the rest of the comic book movies. Like, people can see it and then go see it again and get a different view on things. I think, and I think that it's just not going to be paired up with the Marvel movies or even the bigger DC stuff like the upcoming Batman movie or Suicide Squad or any of that. It's going to kind of get pushed in the wayside with the blockbusters. And it really feels like a gangster movie in a way, is where like a 70s gangster movie is kind of how I got the impression from it.
I've heard that,
Yeah, and a lot of the people that I've spoken to that have seen it as well, they're kind of like in the same group of opinion that Joe and I are in, where like the opinions clash a bit, and it's not like a movie where it's overly liked, but you can still see value in the movie and understand why it's popular and why it's well done, and why it probably would end up becoming seen years after the fact as an underrated movie, or
And it's very open-ended, too. It leaves a lot open to interpretation, even to the point where what was real and what was not throughout the whole movie. So he's an unreliable narrator. Yeah, he's an unreliable narrator, and it's just kind of you putting your thoughts and opinions on what is real, what really happened, what is going to happen.
Yeah, it's definitely open to interpretation, and that's what I liked about the movie, actually. And I also like, though, that it does take some elements of Joker lore or Batman lore that are very synonymous with the Joker character, like such things as the illusion in the comic books that the Joker is, he might be several different people, over, I don't know, the course of the lore or him appearing in the comics. And you kind of get a sense of that too in there, that he may not necessarily be like the Joker that we all know that would ultimately fight Batman. Or
is there any, not to get into too spoiler heavy, but was there any indication that Batman existed in this world, or is it too early? Or
absolutely,
Yeah, absolutely set up for it.
Okay.
Yeah. There's definitely influence by Frank Miller's writing of the Batman comics, like Year One.
Okay.
Like that's definitely in there. I don't know if you know too much about that, Brian, but Year One was like very important Batman story by Frank Miller. And Frank Miller, of course, has delved into movies, so you might be familiar with Frank Miller's stuff, like Sin City.
Yeah, I know that stuff. Yeah, but I haven't read it, but
he's very pulpy noir with his stuff, and he always liked to run his characters through the ringer, and very, very down to earth, gritty. When he took over with Daredevil 2, Daredevil was a swashbuckling superhero, and he beat the shit out of him and took everything away from him to just rise him back up. And that's kind of his style. Very, very human characters. A lot of I don't want to say negative emotions, but a lot of bad things happen, and you're pulling for the character to get out of this, and he keeps getting shit on. And Batman Year One is kind of that same thing. The struggles of Batman, the hardships of him trying to juggle his billionaire philanthropist lifestyle with he really just wants to be Batman, and then failing all the time. And there's a lot of heavy Commissioner Gordon stuff in the comics, but you didn't really see any of that like they did with Gotham. They really focused on Year One Jim Gordon stuff.
All right. I'm trying to think. So, I mean, based on the movie and everyone's criticisms of it, like saying, oh, it's like doing something with the mental illness. Like, what was that going on with that part of the movie? Like, people were like, oh, you should be nicer to people that are mentally ill and like all this kind of stuff. Like, and I was hearing all these, like, I'm trying not to read too much about it, but I've been hearing like lots of like controversies over the movie.
I think the controversy really mainly stems from the domestic terrorism aspect of it.
Okay.
As far as the mental aspect of it, that's the angle that the movie took with the character of the Joker, and he is like a mentally unhinged character all throughout the movie, where he's just unraveling, and and it's clear that he does have some sort of mental illness that he's struggling with and has always struggled with. But in the end, he just completely falls apart and has such a disattachment with reality that, of course, his whole world is affected by it. And, he's the Joker, basically, throughout the movie.
Yeah, one of the things in the comics with Joker is, he's mentally insane. They never really touch on why, and this kind of takes a different route of this is why, and this is the origin story that we're going to portray of him, and he has an illness that's not his fault in a way.
Okay.
And they play upon that, and like Ray said, with him just being affected by it, and his reality is just unraveling around him. And
yeah, for what it's worth, Joaquin Phoenix was great. He's definitely a very good actor, and I felt he brought something to the Joker that we haven't seen before.
Yeah. And
so the Joker, the movie The Joker, is definitely the darkest interpretation or adaptation of the Joker that we've seen thus far. But it's different. It's very different from what you would expect a Joker movie to be. That being said, it's definitely like the darkest interpretation. Yeah. And if you want to lump it in with comic book movies, it's probably one of the more darker comic book movies ever made.
Okay.
If you want to lump it into like other comic book movies that have been out in the last decade or so.
And then with that, I mean, where would you guys rank the Jokers that have been played over the years? I always put Heath Ledger at the top. I think that for him, but I haven't seen this movie yet, so it's kind of, I can't really compare right now.
Yeah, I think you'll have a lot to say though, or you'll know how he'll rank in your mind or with your opinion once you see it. Like you just said though, I would say like Heath Ledger to me was a great Joker. He kind of like took from Jack Nicholson's mannerisms and performance and behavior, and mix it in with his own mannerisms and behavior. So probably, like, I would say Heath Ledger's his performance was still top. I'm kind of like weird to say that it is the best interpretation of the Joker, but
I think we all can agree that Jared Leto was the worst, right?
I haven't even seen Suicide Squad,
really?
so I don't know.
Terrible.
Like,
it was terrible.
Well, all right. I actually did see maybe a half hour of it, but I didn't see any of the scenes that Jared Leto was in. So
yeah, he was bad.
Yeah, was it really that bad? Like, somebody told me. I only encountered one person that told me that he actually did pretty good, but everyone else is like nah.
It's like 1 out of 10 people think that he's good, but I don't know. Was it good?
Yeah, I don't think that his was completely as awful as everyone said. It was just the
look of him
unique.
I don't know.
It was a unique, modernized take on the Joker, where he was I don't know, like a millennial gangster, mixed with like Yakuza
with grills
is where I kind of got that. But yeah, they definitely went with a more modernized style on him. And yeah, you're right. Like all the tattoos and all that stuff. If they remove all that stuff, his performance wasn't terrible. The writing in it was kind of messed up with some rewrites and whatnot. And I would like to have seen him actually get a chance to carry a movie, or even just to be somewhat of a more of a main villain in it.
Yeah.
But, that'll never happen. But he definitely would rank lowest on my list, just because there's so many other great Jokers that are out there.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I'd be bold to say, though, that Jack Nicholson, Jack Nicholson,
what are you?
Heath Ledger, and Joaquin Phoenix, they're kind of like bordering together, like in the same level, because they all bring different things to the table that are unique to the Joker. And I think Joaquin Phoenix's interpretation of the Joker was really unique. And plus his acting talent on top of that, though, probably like, in the end, I mean, right now, maybe not. Maybe he's not considered the best Joker at this point, but maybe after people absorb this movie for a longer period of time, he'll probably be seen as like one of the best Jokers ever portrayed on film.
Especially if he wins an Oscar too. Yeah, you never know.
What do you think, Joe?
It comes down to personal preference. I believe Heath Ledger's was an amazing take on the Joker, because it was kind of a little bit of there's a rumor floating around that he was an ex-military soldier, or special ops or something along that line, and it was a form of PTSD, and then he just kind of snapped again with society, kind of like what they did in Joaquin Phoenix's role. But I like that Joker because, like you said, Ray, it was a mix of Jack Nicholson, and then it was the anarchist Joker. And that was a cool take on a more modernized Joker from the comics. But I go back to Jack Nicholson as the Clown Prince of Crime is kind of my favorite take on the Joker. And he was the gentleman criminal, but he still portrayed that insane character with certain tics and, his style to it. And that's what I like. Maybe it's nostalgia, but I go back to that Joker. And,
well, I think
even the Batman TV series too,
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
What's his name? Cesar Romero was a great Joker.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He was a great Joker.
And you think that was the only live action version of the Joker that you had for 30 years almost, and everyone viewed him as he's just a goofy clown. And then when you took Jack Nicholson's version, it's like, okay, it's a mix of that. He's kind of the goofy clown, but he's gonna just shoot someone in the head, or he's just got this crazy insane plan, and he's going up against the smartest man in the world. And
that just goes to show the difference between the generations too, because with the Joker, he's kind of like a reflection of and when I'm talking about the Joker, I'm talking about the Joker as adapted in film or TV of the generation. So he's kind of a reflection of the generation of the time. Like Cesar Romero was a reflection of the generation of the time in terms of how he portrayed Joker. And Jack Nicholson definitely represents really our age group, Joe, like where he is like the gentleman Joker. And then, of course, you have the more dark and, anarchaic Joker, who is like, Heath Ledger. And that is like probably the generation after us, where he more represents, like the millennials and so forth. And and this Joker is like totally like new school. Like this new Joker is just, a lot darker because, people these days want they want dark stuff.
It's not in the DC universe, really, but
we definitely can't forget, again, go into our generation, Ray. Mark Hamill, even though it wasn't live action, Mark Hamill's portrayal of Joker in Batman the Animated Series.
He's brilliant.
I wish he would get a chance to play that character.
Play the Joker.
Yeah, live action.
Yeah, I could see that. And I think people have been talking about that for years, and he would have been great. Like now he's like kind of old for it, but his portrayal as the Joker in the animated series was groundbreaking, and it was also groundbreaking for his career too, because it cemented him as a very respectable voice actor when he was still really considered like just Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
And so he was able to cross over from being Luke Skywalker or being a Hollywood actor and finding a real niche in voice acting, and he made a real career out of it, and he's an extremely respectable voice actor.
Oh yeah.
He's a legend. He's a legend in terms of that.
I know that one of the rumors floating around, there's the CW TV series, or they're all doing a Crisis on the Infinite Earths multiverse crossover, and they're supposedly a Batman Beyond thing in there. And I know the Joker wasn't. Well, he wasn't really. Joker really wasn't involved much in Batman Beyond, but if you kind of hodgepodge stories
together, there's a movie. They did make an animated movie with Joker.
Yeah, that was the early stuff with what happened to Jason Todd, it was Tim. Who was it? Was it Tim Drake, I believe? Because he became the mini Joker, and then the next version of the Joker, they corrupted him. But like I was saying, that if you mix up a little bit of Batman Beyond and you mix up a little bit of the Dark Knight Returns, Mark Hamill was the older Joker in the white suit, crazy, insane, older, wiser, but more unpredictable.
Well, yeah, he was like the Clown Prince, so
he was the Clown Prince, but more demented than ever.
Yeah, he definitely took influence from the way Cesar Romero portrayed the Joker, who was just like a very giddy criminal, with a wicked sense of humor and just in your face and kind of gregarious and kind of demented, but not overly dark, but still like somebody that you wouldn't really want to mess around with. You know what I mean? And then Jack Nicholson, like obviously he took that to the next level. He was still like a gentleman Joker in the same way. He added the gentleman Joker aspect, but he added like more of the wicked criminal element of the Joker in there.
And see, like you were saying, Ray, about how Joaquin Phoenix, he's kind of a unique take on it. I think that he's a smarter, more intelligent version of the Joker that has basis in a lot of those Martin Scorsese style films or stuff like Scarface. He's maybe it's more that the movie takes place in the 70s, but he kind of really has that feel.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it took place in the early 80s, because there's actually a scene where there's a shot where the camera pans over and shows the marquee of a movie theater, and the movies that are featured are Zorro the Gay Blade, and something else. I think there was another movie too, though, which I don't know. It might have been something like Scarface, but Zorro the Gay Blade, I remember that was like on the marquee, and that's like 1981.
Yeah, and so late 70s, early 80s, I guess, is where you'd throw it.
I kind of like that. I kind of like that style. And like you were saying before, though, and again, this also ties to what I said before, where it took elements of the Joker from the comics, most notably the fact that, like, some aspects of the Joker's supposed origin that you would read about in the comics may not necessarily be true. It could be a complete outright lie, or it could just be like a gray area where it's kind of vague and you're not sure whether or not it's real or not. And so that element in the movie is very prevalent, where they start to reveal things about the Joker at first, and you kind of be like, oh, this is the direction they're taking, and so this is where the Joker really comes from. But then it kind of gets like grayed up by the middle of the movie, where you start to get a sense that maybe that's not really what has happened. Like, maybe that's like all in his mind, or like that's just him being infatuated with what he believes where he came from. Yeah. And so forth. So yeah, like I like that aspect a lot, actually, where it was all grayed up. There's like this big, not to give away too much for you, Brian, but
yeah, please don't.
There's a big connection between the Joker and Bruce Wayne's father, Thomas Wayne.
Okay.
And a big connection, and it's to the point where the movie portrays the connection as a real connection, but then by the middle of the movie you're like, well, maybe there isn't that connection after all. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, Joe, of course, obviously understands exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you said, where throughout the whole movie, once you get closer to the end, you're like, all right, well, where did the lies actually start? Are they actually lies? Is that all of this a lie? Is none of this a lie? Who's really telling the story? And that's like, you kind of don't know. I mean, I don't think it would have went that far, but maybe.
Yeah.
It's just how you interpret it, I guess. And it definitely, I want to see it again, and I want to kind of pay more attention and pick things apart. There was one part that I wasn't sure about that I mentioned to Ray, that I thought maybe there was the same person in the beginning of the movie that was at the end of the movie that shouldn't have been there, or maybe it was just someone different and I didn't catch it.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what you're talking about. What do you mean?
The therapist in the beginning.
Oh, yes, yeah.
The social worker. Yeah, like that part. It's like I could swear it was the same person, but maybe we didn't see that person for so long in the movie, but she looked the same.
Sure. I mean, there's similarities for sure, but I'm not 100% sure if that actually was the same. So, to be honest with you, when I was watching it, I remember thinking maybe that is the same person. I remember thinking like, oh, is that the same person? But
should have looked at the end credits, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if they're going to be listed on IMDb as social worker / nurse.
All right, so let's finish this Joker review. If you're doing a written review on our site out of 5 stars, what would you give it, Joe?
I would probably give it between a 3.5 and a 4.
Wow. Okay.
Because I didn't think it was bad at all. You just didn't like the interpretation of it. For me, I talked to Ray about certain things on how the Joker character was portrayed by the end, and that didn't sit well with me. Is that he felt like a folk hero in a way, and I don't know. That's just how I got my impression.
Yeah,
from
that was the other controversy. Was like, putting this person on a pedestal that's mentally ill and causing havoc on everybody.
And Ray had a rebuttal for that, as he would say about it, and his opinion on it. So I'll let him talk about that. But I think that it was carried by Joaquin Phoenix, and I love the insanity of it. And even though it kind of sometimes skewered reality and messed with our minds, I thought that it was a unique movie.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so certainly I'd agree with that too, that it was definitely a unique movie, in that it definitely sparks like a lot of conversation and debate on it, and it is one of those movies where you kind of do have to, watch again, and even when you're watching it again, you might likely have another view or interpretation of the movie after watching it a second time. So I'm sure for myself, I'm probably going to watch it again. I like that a lot, actually. And you threw in the name Martin Scorsese. It's totally influenced by Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, I got that from the trailer.
One of Martin Scorsese's most underrated movies is a movie called King of Comedy with Robert De Niro, in which Robert De Niro plays a struggling comedian who is obsessed with a talk show host or another comedian in this case, and. I mean, basically, that's like what happens, like in the Joker, like so. And Robert De Niro's in it. Robert De Niro's in it too. So, like, you know, and he was great in it too. Robert De Niro was awesome, and I think overall it was a good movie, acting wise. Like Joaquin Phoenix definitely carried the movie. You know, so
how many
overall
stars?
from a movie standpoint, you know, setting aside all the comic book stuff. You know, I would say that it was almost excellent. It's a 4-star movie in my opinion, out of 5. And you know, I myself though had to set aside my expectations of how the Joker should be portrayed, and once I did that, I enjoyed the movie a lot more.
Okay.
And of course, in regards to what Joe was saying about how he interpreted the ending about you know, the Joker kind of being portrayed as a folklore hero. Yeah, you know, it kind of does seem that way. But I kind of feel, though, that wasn't something that smothered the ending. To me, it was just like anarchy took over the city of Gotham. And it wasn't so much the idea of a revolution happening where people were idolizing Joker. I think it was just the beginning of like seeing how much, you know, crime was smothering Gotham at that point, and how anarchy began to take over, and how lawlessness and stuff like that began to, you know, of course, kind of put its meat hooks into the city of Gotham. So,
and I can see that, Ray, like your point of view on that, because if you think of Batman Year One, Gotham is a terrible place. Gotham is riddled with crime and murder, and I think that maybe that's an aspect of you on it, is that these were people that were, you know, it portrayed them poor people, the lower class that were getting stepped over and spit on and all that stuff.
I think about it too. I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say. I just think that that could be, if they continue on with what they were doing, leading up to how bad Gotham City really gets, to maybe lead into a Batman thing if they wanted to. So I could see that, but I still, overall, my feeling is that it was kind of maybe unintentional, but that's how I felt that the Joker was that was the main thing that didn't sit well with me, is that these people, the regular people, were idolizing him.
Well, and here's a counterpoint to that, I feel, which you might find interesting, is that if you go back and follow the movie too, and think about many of the random characters that were in this movie, you know, they were all pretty despicable or had some sort of like, bad intention, you know, as a character. Like there's these kids in the beginning that just like basically beat up on the Joker character. You know, you have like this shady guy that works with the Joker. The guy that gave him the gun and stuff like that. Like, you know, he's kind of shady. You had those guys in the subway train. Those were assholes too. All right, you know,
assholes in it. Yeah.
So everyone kind of like, you know, in Gotham, like no one's really innocent in Gotham. Like I feel like a lot of the people that are like wicked in Gotham, those are the people that gravitated towards the Joker, that you really see come out and start like the chaos in the streets by the end of the film.
Just remember though, Ray, that the nicest person in the entire movie was the midget.
Yeah, that's true. He was
little person.
It's okay to call him.
He's kind of, and it was kind of sad to see.
All right. Bleep the dwarf out.
Like Peck? Yeah, it's like, you know, you can't say that anymore.
It's kind of sad to see like where his fate ultimately, you know, was going, you know.
All right.
Which is another crazy scene. That's another crazy scene too.
He's just going to bleep out. He'll bleep out the keyword. Don't forget Swamp Thing was in it.
Wait, no, let's not talk about Swamp Thing. Let's talk about Comic-Con. Let's go back to that.
All right.
We went on a Joker tangent, which I wanted to do at the end of this, but that was fine. We did in the beginning.
We just switched it up because we did it Thursday, not Friday, so that was the beginning of our...
what was your day like, Joe, when you on Thursday? Was it annoying with the press badge and getting in, or just...
No, actually, on Thursday, the people that were standing outside, which usually, have the signs and direct you to where you need to go.
Yeah.
There was only 2 of them on the road that we were heading down. We went to breakfast and we went right down towards the Javits Center. And they apparently sent my friend Ray and Ray here on a tourist tour of the, lower Manhattan or something, because I went in and I was in probably about an hour before them.
Wow.
And I don't know if it was just because they weren't directing people right. Everyone was going to the one door when there was another door to the right of the Blue Crystal entrance that I needed to go to.
Okay.
That people were apparently getting in there fairly easily, and I don't think anyone was. The logistics of the volunteers or the staff outside, they just had no clue what was going on at all.
Okay.
Yeah, and basically, me and Joe's other friend Ray, we were literally standing in the rain for almost an hour just to get in.
Ugh.
And we went a completely opposite direction that you would normally go to get inside the Javits compared to previous years.
And they had that whole front road barricaded off for some reason that you couldn't just cross over.
But people were getting in that way. The people were getting in from the other side, though, which is kind of weird.
You had to go down another street. They had an entrance to go right in, because me and Ray went in on Friday. We went in that way, and he got in literally 10 minutes after me.
Okay.
Oh, but they were still directing on Friday. They were still directing people the way that we initially went.
Well, I think we were on 37th Street when we went down the first time. We went 34th Street directly from where we were staying, and we just walked straight through there because that had the other entrance and that had easier access to the press entrance. Yeah. I was literally in 2 minutes, and then Ray was in 10 minutes.
Well, for people like us in our group that got there relatively early, we all expected to be in there by 10, and honestly, I myself really didn't get inside the Javits until 10:45 or something like that, maybe even closer to 11.
It was crazy. Because I had stuff that I was planning on doing as soon as they came in with me, expecting them to be 10 minutes behind me. And I literally went to CGC to make sure I got paperwork for some comics I was getting signed, to get a signature volunteer for the next day. I went to Marvel booth to get a free comic they had for me set aside with being a card member for MasterCard. And then I went to the Topps Marvel booth that was giving away posters. And then I was walking around Artist Alley and the floor waiting on them, you guys,
so
what's going on.
You saw everything before they even got inside.
It was. And there definitely weren't. It was like I had an early release, because only the middle area and maybe some of that lower level were getting in.
Oh, wow.
And you had free reign in most of the floor. There just weren't a lot of people in there yet.
So what was on the floor this year, as far as booths and exhibits and other kind of stuff? I know sometimes they have Star Wars stuff and that kind of stuff.
They were focusing on. There was a lot of mobile game stuff I seen. I did some press with Arcade 1-Up, that were the ones that are releasing the arcade cabinets, the retro arcade cabinets, the mini ones.
Okay.
They had a giant 16-foot tall Marvel Superheroes arcade game that me and Ray got a chance to play.
So who did you guys?
It seems like they definitely really pushed the gaming aspect a lot more than they ever had in Comic-Con. So yeah, there were a lot of game type of exhibits and things that are being featured that revolved around video games and stuff like that.
I noticed that last year too. Yeah, it was like that, and
it's more prevalent. It's clearly more prevalent this year than it's ever been.
I think Sony had a Predator video game set up. They were demoing there's the upcoming Avengers game that's coming out for Xbox and PS4 and all that, and they actually had lines and maybe a dozen stations for people to play it, and there were lines just all around the booth to get in and demo it. I was able to just stand and watch it, and it looked pretty cool. It's almost like a third-person action-adventure Avengers game that's more realistic. I don't know. It looked a lot like some of the old last-generation movie games, like the Iron Man video game that they released, but much better graphics and full Avengers roster, but not based in the MCU, but kind of.
Joe and I also got to play the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game.
Nice, I love that one.
Where like basically it was like limitless lives, and like if we wanted to, we could have like played the whole entire game and finished it.
Which characters did you guys play?
I was Donatello, and I think Joe was Leonardo.
Yeah, I gave us Leonardo.
I usually go with those two. Yeah, those two are usually the ones I go with. They
had the reach. They were the ones that you'd play. You could get them because they had a little extra reach.
I haven't played that game in like 25 years, probably.
What was really cool at the Arcade 1-Up setup is that as you walked around, it reminded me of my youth. Being kind of a mall rat, you walked around and there was so many people gathered around. They had, I don't know, maybe like 24 different arcade stations from their various games. Like maybe there's like 5 or 6 Ninja Turtles, the Marvel Superheroes, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. And there was just people huddled around them everywhere playing them. And most of them are 4 players, so they're just people waiting in line, and it just reminded me of back in the day when you'd put your quarters on the on the cabinet and be like, all right, I'm next.
But it was completely free though, so like, you know, I mean, if you saw a spot, you grabbed it and you can just play away, and if you really wanted to, you could have been there all day and just like play video games.
Yeah, well, the Ninja Turtles game takes about a half an hour to finish, so I finished it dozens of times easily.
But I always wondered that. Like, I'm always walking around the floor, and I'm like, you come here first thing in the morning, and then you just line up to play video games. I don't know. It's kind of like I don't get that. Like,
well, they were releasing some arcade cabinets that they didn't have any lead up to, and they just surprised people and released them and premiered them at Comic-Con. Okay. They were do you ever see the flat bar arcades style things like Pac-Man, and there were some Street Fighter ones.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then they were offering deals because usually those cabinets, like the Ninja Turtles one's $500, the Marvel Superheroes one's $400, but then they've had ones that have been out. They were offering a deal on the Street Fighter one that was like $200, and then you could order them directly from there with free shipping as a convention exclusive. But
I was like, how do you carry that around the floor?
Yeah, I know. They didn't have them there. You could order it; they'll ship it to your house. But yeah, you're right. Most of Comic-Con is really about standing in line, whether you're in Artist Alley, whether you're trying to get to a panel. Yeah, you're going to the bathroom. You're waiting for 2 4-inch diameter tacos for $12.
I know, my brother's like, how is this fun for people? It's so much crowd.
Oh, really? He didn't like the Comic-Con experience?
Yeah, he was just kind of like, it's just too crowded, and he's like, I walked on the floor once. I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
But that's your brother. Your brothers have been always like that, though.
Yeah.
He's definitely not a Comic-Con person.
And I get that point. That's why I always I'm like, I go stand by the entrance ways where the cosplay people are and just go back and forth to that and take pictures. And then if I see a break in the crowds, I'll just go there and walk on the floor until I can't take it anymore. But
I think what I really appreciated about Comic-Con, and I didn't really appreciate it until really the last 2 years, was like the whole panel aspect, going to the panels.
Yeah, did you guys see any?
Those were always fun, except this year I actually didn't really see too many panels. The only panel I went was like one with Joe, which was a very small panel, and it just dealt with the IDW comics and then talking about their new releases or whatever.
Yeah, and Matt saw Billy D. Williams, so I think that took up most of that time.
Yeah, I would have loved to have gone to that though, and I saw his pictures too. His pictures are great.
Yeah,
and
he's like, yeah,
it seems like he was right there. He was like right up front.
Yeah, because he was using. Yeah, he had his ways of getting up close, and. But yeah, he's like.
Or was that just the lens, though? Was that just him zooming in?
Yes, the lens, yes, and and then, but he's like, Billy D. He's like, he just seemed like he was bored to be there. He's old, and it's like some guys like asking questions like about Sarlacc pit, like, what would you take into Sarlacc pit if to survive? Like these like stupid nerdy questions.
I actually saw, because the good thing too though is that with panels, even if you miss them live while you're at Comic-Con, most of them get filmed and just like put on YouTube.
Yeah, that's and I saw a little bit of.
I did see a little bit of Billy D. Williams like panel and the type of questions they were asking him during that panel.
Yeah,
and like somebody asked a really great question about pertaining towards Billy D. Williams' part in the original Batman movie, Tim Burton's Batman movie.
Yeah,
where the possibility of him portraying Two-Face in later movies. And like he totally delved into it and answered that question and said, yeah, you know, like
I've heard that.
That would have been planned, and he would have loved to have done that. And he felt though that he definitely would have brought like a unique quality to a Two-Face if he had that opportunity. And again, of course, he also mentioned that he loved like playing just Harvey Dent. And so I thought that was, you know, probably like one of the better questions. So
yeah,
and that was, to me, it's just like it kind of swayed away from like the usual Star Wars banter that people would probably normally ask him about.
Yeah, you should have asked him what's his favorite kind of robot to have sex with.
And he probably wouldn't have any idea what that's about, though, because I'm sure he probably didn't really watch like the Solo movie.
I'm sure he's heard about it.
Yeah, he probably has heard about it.
Maybe that was based on one of his like memoirs or something. It's like they took that one line and went with it.
So the only panel you saw was for that small one, or Joe? Did you see any other ones?
No, I saw a couple of the IDW ones, which one with Ray, they were focusing on like graphic novels and their publishing aspect of it. And another one of theirs was their upcoming comic books that they have coming out, some of their releases. But I didn't get a chance either to go set with any of the big ones. Usually when I do the coverage for DC and Warner Brothers, that they'll have some kind of premiere or panel, but most of those I think were on Sunday. And I was only up there Saturday or Sunday.
It was like the Walking Dead one, and there was I think the biggest ones were Walking Dead and Star Trek, which happened on Saturday.
They're all at MSG, and it's like, do you wait? I never went to one of those because I didn't know. Do you have to just wait? Do you just wait for that all day and that's it? Like, I don't
probably.
It's
I know
frustrating.
I know that usually how they did it with the DC animated stuff that I cover is that we would do the interviews, which I did interviews on the Wonder Woman Bloodlines movie that just come out. And then right after that would be the panel, but that was set up Friday at like 5:30 to 6:20, and there was as far as I know, there was no panel right afterwards. I wasn't invited to a panel with it or any kind of premiere. I think those were later on in the weekend.
Probably just availability of the actors was.
But I did get to talk to Rosario Dawson for a little bit, which was pretty cool.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got pictures of her on the website.
Yeah, with those roundtable discussions. She was only there for,
what were you talking about?
3 or 4 minutes.
So what was this?
Because she
voices about Cory Booker. What do you?
She does the voice of Wonder Woman in the last few of the. There's with the DC animated stuff. There's kind of the offshoot one-shot ones that they do, and then they actually have a shared universe. And she's been Wonder Woman in some of the shared universe ones, like the Death and Return of Superman. And then this is a Wonder Woman kind of origin story in a way, like her more modern version. And just, questions about like how she views voice acting differently than, live action, and what are some of the things she likes about Wonder Woman, and those type of questions. And you're like, there was literally probably 20 people around the table that we were at, and it was just kind of like, get in when you can, get your question in, and then hope that you still have time afterwards. That's usually how those go. But
any crazy incidents or anything happen, or you see anything like, I don't know, something fun?
On Friday I had a VIP meet and greet with Kevin Eastman, who's co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Nice.
I got to get some books signed. I got to chat with him for a little bit, which was really cool. I've been trying to get to a convention that he's been at for a long time, and he's usually either way up north, like because from Connecticut and New Hampshire area, or he's like at the San Diego Comic-Con and whatnot. But I finally got the VIP treatment. Got some of I had a third printing of the first issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that I got this past summer. Got that signed, and then I had the signature series, have it sealed away and graded, waiting on that.
How much is it for like autographs for like that?
How they were offering his deal is that there was some free stuff on a first come first served basis for a little later in the weekend, and you weren't guaranteed anything. But his package was a $100 package. I ended up getting a deal on it. Got it for $80. You got 3 things signed. They gave you a limited edition print, only available at New York Comic Con, and 3 exclusive Ninja Turtles comics with variant covers on it. So you got a little bit extra. Okay. And I took a couple comics, and then I have an original Ninja Turtles poster from the first movie that I got him to sign, hanging up on my wall right now. But that was pretty cool. Ray, remember on the Friday after we seen Joker at our same theater, there was an incident where someone was kind of causing some trouble.
Oh yeah, and that got on the news too. So
why? What happened with that?
Well, that was the next day, right? That was Friday.
Yeah, that was Friday, one of the shows.
So the same theater that we went to see Joker, which is basically AMC 25 in Times Square. Yeah. There was a screening of the Joker where somebody made a disruption at one of the shows, and he, of course, I think he was either detained or arrested, but it was just some like schmuck that ruined the movie going experience for everyone, where like he went into the show, and people actually saw him take an entire bottle of alcohol and put it into like his drink, so he was clearly getting like drunk.
Yeah, they said that he was, every time that there was some violence or murder scene, that he was standing up and cheering, and
yeah, he was cheering, and everyone around him was like telling him like to basically shut the fuck up and like sit down and get out of here and all this stuff, and he was spitting on people, stuff like that, and. Ultimately the cops came.
Yeah, I was kind of like worried about going to see that because it's like all the threats and stuff to it. But I was like, maybe I'll wait a couple weeks to let things die down.
But think about it too, though. That happened like several years ago when that kid that dressed up as Joker and he went to like a movie and he ended up like shooting. Yeah, and I can see, of course, the theaters being very cautious with this type of movie, that, rightfully so. Especially like with the screening that we went to, because the screening that we went to, Joe, which was like on the first night of Comic-Con, there could have easily been people like dressed up as Joker trying to get it in to like watch the movie. But, I mean, chalk that up to, I guess, like policy, where they just.
I read some theaters. A lot of theaters were allowing people in costume, but I read that there were specifically, I don't know where they were, but there were theaters that were banning anyone in costume from attending the movie. And then there was a little joke going around that somebody posted up at one of I think it was a Cinemark theater. Right. They posted a thing up that said people weren't allowed to go see the movie if they were alone.
Yeah,
you had to be in like
singles were banned. Yeah, that was funny. And then the person now that person's banned.
Yeah. Banned for life.
That's funny. But what if you really wanted to see the movie? Or you just wanted to
I mean, I guess you have to rent a friend.
Rent a friend. That's a good service.
So another Joker detour.
Detour. So
but that was probably the most, off the wall thing. It didn't even happen to us. It was fairly tame. There was no fights. There was no crazy. I think there was someone that might have passed out from heat stroke or exhaustion or something that they had some people giving them water. But other than that, I don't think there was anything really crazy and over the top happening.
Was there anything that you missed or that you wish you saw, or people you got to talk to or anything?
Well, other than my friend Ray missing his one panel on Thursday because it took an hour to get in, but no, I had some press coverage that I did. I managed to talk to. His name was John. He was the senior vice president of business and licensing for the Arcade 1-Up stuff. Talk about some of the new games that were coming out, possibly, and like what the fandom thinks about the cool, like those cool arcade cabinets. We went through a little fan experience thing for The Expanse, the Amazon show that used to be the sci-fi show, which was kind of corny.
I've been seeing a lot of stuff about that. What is The Expanse? And it's quick rundown of it. I honestly, I never watched it. I've been interested in it. All that I know is it's a sci-fi show where the universe, like our galaxy, has expanded so much, and they've colonized most of the galaxy, and they're dealing with a lot of politics and a lot of just insane space stuff that's going on. And it's on the 4th season now. Amazon took over after Sci-Fi canceled it.
and they already greenlit a 5th season. So it's one show that I have had interest in, and I wanted to take a look at. It reminds me, I forget the name of the show way back. I think it was the 90s. It was called like Earth 2, I think.
Oh yeah, right, I remember that.
That's what it reminds me of, but not knowing much about it.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, and of course I was involved in that too. Going to that exhibit, the Expanse exhibit, and it was okay. You know, I mean, there wasn't really much to it. They put you in a seat where
the massage.
It was basically like the cockpit of a ship, but you know, and the first thing that you see sitting down in the seat is this screen that it appears to be interactive. And at first I'm like, all right, there's a joystick in front of me. Like, so I go to the lady that's like moderating the whole thing. And I'm like, so am I controlling this? Like, am I moving like the ship? And then she's like, no. And then she just pushes a button and basically the seat begins to vibrate. Like I'm actually controlling something, but that's all it was. It was just like a vibrating seat. And like the monitor in front of you is just, you know, a scan of like mountains and stuff, and you're not really controlling anything.
In the presser that I got from it, it sounded like they're saying, well, you go into the ship. I can't think of what the name of the ship was off the top of my head, but you go into the ship and you can travel to the next season as you travel to the next planet where they're going to colonize. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, everyone's sitting there, and it might be like a little movie thing that's kind of somewhat interactive, and you get a trailer of the next season. But it's just like, okay, you sit there and it looks like you're studying, you know, mountain ranges, and then there's like a spot that lights up red, and they're like, you're landing there. It's like, okay, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. The lady kept on saying, now you're going to land. I'm like, but I don't even have to touch anything. I'm not landing anything. What are you talking about?
It's all autopilot in the future, Ray.
Yeah.
Well, that was like, from me going to Star Wars and Galaxy's Edge, when I was doing the Millennium Falcon, I liked the ride, but it felt like I was pushing all the buttons and stuff because I wasn't I wasn't a pilot. So I just felt I was a gunner, and Connor was a gunner too.
No, but you were actually controlling stuff though when you were pushing the buttons.
Yeah, because there's people that pilot it, and then I was the gunner. So I just have it turns up green when you got to push the button. So I just felt like the entire time I was just pushing things, which I wish it was more automated. That was the only problem I think with it. Maybe if I was a pilot, I would think differently, but as a counteractive to that, I don't know. Some things I wish were kind of automated in a way.
That was way more interactive than our experience.
Yeah, our experience was just like get a photo opportunity, you know, and even the photo opportunity was kind of whack because like the guy was just like stand in, you know, here and stand here. Yeah.
Don't
like
step in spot 4.
Joe was like trying to be all photogenic, and Joe was like, let's do this and let's do that. And the guy was immediately like, just stand like stationary.
and like, it looks like an awkward family photo.
Yeah, really the picture's just like us going like this, like following the guy's direction. And within 2 seconds, it's done. The guy's just like, click, we're done. And we got like, you know, we stepped out and we were like given like this little tin cup thing. So, I mean, it's just, okay. Well, I mean, there was Expanse, which I'll probably never watch because I don't have Amazon.
There must be some popularity to it because there was a whole bunch of people lined up around the exhibit, but we were able to, because we had a press appointment, we were able to just skip all those schmucks and then move on.
Yeah, I think I would have had a much more fun time at the like the other exhibit that you encountered like last year, which was like the Spider-Man exhibit.
Oh yeah, that one was pretty cool.
The Star Wars one I did 2 years ago. Two years ago was really awesome too. But
the Spider-Man one, they had you crawl in, and you were in Peter Parker's apartment as you like come in as Spider-Man, but everything was upside down. And then they told you to do a Spider-Man pose, something like that. And then they took a picture, gave you a picture, and then they gave me a golden ticket that I went, and you were able to go meet the I can't think of his name, but the kid that plays Ned Flanders. Go meet him, and he was signing slipcovers to Homecoming for the people that got the golden tickets.
Ned Flanders? You mean Ned Leeds?
Oh, Ned Leeds, yeah.
Okey-dokey.
Yeah, Ned Flanders was there.
Diddly-diddly.
I was just watching the Treehouse of Horror marathon, so he's stuck in my brain, in the left side of my brain.
He's a very key figure in the Spider-Man universe, too, so...
great.
Well, the Star Wars one that they did two or 3 years ago for Comic-Con, I think it was really awesome because it's like you went inside and then you're sitting there and all of a sudden like they have resistance people coming in, all the stormtroopers come in, and then like guys getting like, then Kylo Ren shows up and then he does the Force and the guy goes like flies up the wall with like holding his throat, and then there's BB-8 in there.
That's awesome.
Like, so it was like, I think it was like they were doing a test run before Galaxy's Edge a little bit, and I was happy to see that.
I kind of, because you mentioned you made an off comment where like it was awesome, but there should have been more extras or more people like dressed up in costumes or interactive costumed, whatever.
It's more
people.
like more immersive, like because it was cool. Like I was like tying my shoe, and all of a sudden, like I look up and I'm thinking there's spaceships over me because the sounds of spaceships and stuff. So like that part is cool, but it wasn't like, it just felt like there needed to be more robots and actors and characters walking around.
Well, what about the cantina though? You're in the cantina, right? Like, so were there a lot of people like in masks and costumes?
No, they have like the one robot DJ Rex that does like the all the music for it, but then they have all the waiters and people doing like kind of like talking, Star Wars stuff every once in a while.
Wait, what was the cantina there though? Was it like an actual restaurant?
Yeah, it's an actual like bar, and so I had tried like the blue milk and I had like a little cookie on it. I love the blue milk.
Blue milk with liquor?
No.
Did you drink it from the tap?
No. No, so the blue milk has like the one in the cantina is $13, and it was just pretty much milk with blue stuff in it with blueberry like flavor. But then you go into the land, they're $8 each for blue and green milk, and it's blue. The blue one has like a blueberry flavor to it, and the green one has like a citrus. So I mean, I like the blueberry one better, but I ended up I went 3 times at Galaxy's Edge, and I'm getting a blue milk each time I went. It was just so good. So, but yeah, I just felt like the stormtroopers were really cool, and then I didn't really see Kylo Ren walking around when I went the 3 times that I went.
You saw like Poe or something, like Poe was running around with Chewbacca or something like that. No, it wasn't
Poe. It's just like just random like other Star Wars type resistance people walking around.
Oh, really? Oh, I could have sworn I saw a picture with Poe running around or something.
No, it was just like a cast member dressed up as like a rebel resistance person with Chewbacca, and then and then they have like and then there's like you go into one of the stores and it got one of the hammerhead looking guy, and he runs the joint, and he's just, it's like an animatronic just pushing buttons. So that was kind of cool. I was seeing guys dropping like $500 on things. I'm like, I was getting a $40 lightsaber.
Oh, that's what you bought? You bought a lightsaber?
Yeah. Well, Connor wanted it. I'm like, well, me too.
Another thing about this Comic-Con...
Connor wanted it.
Yeah.
Use that as the excuse now.
Another thing about this Comic-Con too, though, is that I definitely didn't spend as much money as I normally would at Comic-Cons, and what little money that I did spend on at Comic-Con, well, actually, like, I'm pretty satisfied with what I got, because I ended up buying there was like a Walking Dead like loot box, which was just $50, and it had a ton of shit in there, which was for $50. Like there was something like 6 like exclusive like action figures in there, and like
Merle's cut off hand, and
well, it had some funny stuff though, like Ezekiel's socks were in it. Like there was like a snow cap, like a Walking Dead snow cap in there, and don't
forget the graded comic.
The graded comic was like pretty awesome too. Like this alone is like at least $50, and this was like in the package.
Yeah, usually it costs like $30 just to get things graded. So right there, you got a comic that was graded worth $30 plus the variant comic.
Right. Yeah, and it's pretty cool. I just wish I could have had the opportunity to have this signed, because this particular comic had Art Adams do the variant cover on this, and we saw Art Adams at Artist Alley.
Yeah, I bought a Godzilla print from.
I wanted, if I was going to go on the Sunday, which I didn't, but I was one artist that he's always been an influence of mine is Bill Plimpton. He was there at Artist Alley. He did all like the Liquid Television stuff on MTV and like the like really cool animation stuff. But he was there, and I was like, oh, I probably would have spent some money to get one of his prints or something signed, or to something.
That was definitely a highlight, and that was basically like the first hour of me being in Comic-Con is just walking around Artist Alley with Joe and meeting and greeting like some of the artists there, and that's always a highlight. And we hung out and talked to for a little while with Billy Tucci, who does the She comic, which is like an independent comic, and this guy's like super interactive with
he's never in his booth. He's outside of his booth talking to people all the time.
Just talking to people and actually wanting to talk to people versus some other artists that are there that just really don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Just buy my prints, fuckers.
Yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, or let me do this commission and don't fucking talk to me while I'm doing this commission.
Yeah, I mean, it is cool walking down there, too, just to see them doing art, too. It's like watching Bob Ross do stuff, you know?
Like last year, me and Ray with Eric Larson, he's so fun to watch how he draws. He just draws it all like claw-handed, and it's just so cool to see him. He's just like, he can draw and talk to 15 people at the same time. Yeah, he draws like a side, like he kind of holds it and he's on his side and he's like this, and he's drawing.
He literally is like lobster hands, like trying to like draw. But it's like, but his artwork is awesome, and it's just like, holy shit, that's how he draws.
Yeah, it's just such a unique take on it. You don't realize how everyone's so different with what they do. And
he's super friendly too, though. Eric Larson is actually a very like easy. He's not standoffish. In other words, he's an easy, approachable person.
To the point there were some people that didn't want to interrupt him because he was in the middle of doing a commission for someone. He's just like, I don't know, what do you want? And he just talked to him. He's still drawing. He's talking to him, and then he'd stop drawing what he's doing because they wanted to have some books signed
or have like a selfie or whatever.
Yeah.
Which we did. I think we did that like when we met him like last year. We were like, hey, can you stop drawing that so we can have a selfie with you? And he's like, yeah, sure.
Just like Ray with Billy Tucci. He's just like, what color do you want me to sign this with? He's like, let me try this. And then he signs a book. What was it? Was it like gold or was it silver or something like that?
And he signed it in on a cover where you could barely see like the signature. So I'm kind of like, and then he like looked at me and he's like, oh, you don't like it? He's like, all right, well, let's get you another copy. And like,
yeah, we'll sign. Someone else will take this one.
Yeah, so cool. He didn't give a fuck. He was just like, hey, he goes, how about silver? Silver's gonna stand out. So he's like, this is beautiful. Here you go.
Yeah. Ray seen him sign my book in silver, and he's like, yeah, I want that. And he's just like, that's fine. I'll get you another cover. I don't care.
But he was like animated about it though. He was like, yeah, let's do it. He's like,
yeah.
He's like, let's get the silver pen for you.
And then the guy says, oh, if you guys want anything, just let me know. It was, I guess, his assistant or someone that was helping him out. And Ray's literally there as Billy Tucci's off to the side talking to someone, and this guy's just like looking around. Ray's standing in front of the guy, waving his hand in the air like, hello, trying to get his attention.
I was like this, like I'm in front of the guy. I'm going, yo, I'm right here, man. Like, and the guy's like, oh, okay, yeah. How can I help you?
5 minutes later, he's like, hey, yeah, what do you need?
Was there any other like photo op type booths? Like, remember, like we did that Chucky the one year, and then like
like, I was looking for things like that, but surprisingly there weren't like a lot of things like that. There were more, to me, more than anything this year. There were more of like those type of exhibits where, like there was like like dab smack in the middle of the floor, you would run into an exhibit of like the Star Trek costumes or something like that.
Oh yeah, props
or the Game of Thrones costumes or something like that. So it seemed like there was more of that than the actual interactive photo op booths that we encountered that one year, Brian. Like like you said, like the Chucky, and I would have loved to have like found something like that and just like had fun with it, but nothing really jumped out to me in terms of like those type of photo op booths.
I know last year, I think it was either last year or the year before, they had a Ninja Turtles one. They had a SpongeBob one this year, but I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, I did the Ninja Turtles last year. Yeah.
Yeah, not a fan of SpongeBob, but there was a lot of people around there. But like Ray said, it definitely didn't seem like there was much of those floating around, other than as you go in the main entrance, there was kind of like 2 off to each side.
Yeah, I felt, and I think I mentioned it to you too, Joe, while we were there, that it kind of seemed different. The Comic-Con itself like kind of seemed a little different than previous years, where they tried to change up things a little bit.
Based
or
on
mix
the photos,
it
it seemed a lot more crowded too. But
photo on a Thursday photo, or
just in general, like it just seemed like the crowds were way up, like, and just hard to walk. Based on from what I've seen in photos.
I think Friday was. Thursday was still. It still felt the same Thursday, like crowd wise, but like I was talking to Ray, we were saying it did. I don't know if it was because they're focusing like more like what San Diego Comic-Con did and moving to more of the mainstream media and like interactive TV and the streaming stuff, and they were definitely
focusing more on that, on the media aspect of things.
Mm. Well, it seems like New York Comic-Con's more TV, and then San Diego is the movie stuff. Just seems like New York is more TV.
New York is more about, like, to me, it's like more, New York is like more comic oriented, and San Diego is more Hollywood oriented. So you have more of like the movies and the TV stuff, and the guests are more about what they appeared in, their celebrity guests or their actors or something like that. Where out here it's more about the featured guests or like the comic artists themselves or the writers and stuff like that.
Yeah, they did have some signings there through CGC, and I know that at one point Frank Miller was signing stuff, Jim Lee was signing stuff, Chris Claremont was signing stuff.
It seemed like a lot of good guests this year.
As far as comic people go, definitely the higher named comic artists.
Well, just in celebrities in general, like Paul Rudd, Tom Hiddleston.
Oh yeah,
But Ryan Reynolds had a panel there too, believe it or
not.
Yeah,
he showed up, and then
he showed up, and then we got like an indication, and it was just like go now, and we could have gone to that, but we were like, that's on the other side of like the center.
Yeah, we'll let everyone else clear out, and we can have some room walk.
Yeah, exactly.
But it also seemed like it had a lot of good panels that I would have went to if I went one of the 4 days. On the Sunday, I just had like the Batman Beyond, and I'm like, I already saw Batman animated twice the last 2 or 3 years. I'm like, I don't want to see another Batman.
Nothing jumped out on me on Thursday though, as far as like the panels that they had in the main hall or the main theater room or whatever. Yeah, so like. What did they have like as far as like?
They had Watchmen on Friday, and I won a lottery for that, but of course I wasn't there, so I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I had a Disney Parks one that kind of I could have went to, but then I had some of the press stuff that I ended up getting, so I decided to obviously do the press stuff.
What was that one about?
It was like a Disney Parks Marvel related one. I don't really know for sure. It was probably like eighth choice. It was like eighth choice on my list.
It's probably about the new stuff that they're doing in Disneyland with all the Avengers area and stuff, which seems awesome. I wish it was going to be in Orlando, but I guess one reason to go out to California is when that's made.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think of it. There was one thing that maybe I just missed a lot of it, but it didn't seem that there was as much of a Marvel presence for panel wise. And I know the last few years there was a lot, like they were heavy on the Netflix stuff.
Well, they had like the Runaways, right, or something like that.
They did have like a Runaways panel. I think
like
there was some sci-fi panels that they were down on one of the lower levels, but they were also streaming them when we were setting up on the what was it, like the rest area lounge. And
right.
They had stuff like they were talking about Big Mouth. There was a couple of like a gaming thing. I can't think, there was an anime that they were talking about. I think Ruby was the anime they were talking about. And, they had some people in those panels, like Clancy Brown was kind of jumped in on one of those panels. Cool. So, I mean, there was stuff all over and they were showing that, but to me, it just didn't feel like there was that big Marvel presence with the last few years that they had.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, again, that just adds to how different Comic-Con was this year.
I wonder why. I wonder what it's like. Maybe they're just kind of scaled back, and then Disney was like, "Oh, we're gonna have everything for our conventions instead, and not have them."
Yeah, maybe they just wanted to take a breath after running that stuff for all the Marvel movies, and there's kind of that lull after Endgame.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of prepping for the
Well,
next
could have been there for
phase.
Disney Plus. I mean, that would have been a great thing.
The perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been
a month away from announcing all that stuff.
Did you guys get a subscription for that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I ended up biting on the 3-year for 2 years.
My brother and I are sharing it. Yeah.
I mean, as big of a Marvel fan as I am, as much as I love the MCU stuff, I couldn't pass up stuff like.
So when is that all going to start, though?
Spider-Man, Amazing Friends, and X-Men original series is going to be on there. That's gonna...
See, I have all the X-Men the original series on DVD. I have
just have it on streaming.
Yeah.
It makes it pretty convenient.
I have it on Vudu too.
Oh, see, I didn't, because each season it was like $10 for like standard definition. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, they. I don't even know if it'll be in HD when it comes out on Plus.
Probably not.
Well, so when are they going to start rolling out with like the flagship shows like Mandalorian?
Mandalorian comes out day one, so I mean that's so day one.
I don't know. I don't know if there's any of the Marvel ones that are day one. I know that.
And Jeff Goldblum one. Come on.
They've announced a bunch, but no dates on. I think the first one is more than likely going to be Loki when they do it, and then the Scarlet Witch, the WandaVision one, probably coming up next. The Falcon and Winter Soldier. But then they did announce there's going to be a Moon Knight one. There's going to be Blade. There's going to be She-Hulk in the future. But Miss Marvel, the Kamala Khan Miss Marvel.
Yes, I mean that's down the pipeline, but. Yeah, I think Loki is probably going to be the first one. That'd probably be in the spring, I would think. And
then I know that there's the animated What If series. That was definitely
that's the only one I'm like not. I always hate those What If kind of things of like it's like the dream sequence in like Sopranos and like those kind of shows. It's like I don't care unless it's like real, but it's like I get the whole point of.
But they eventually, in the What If comics, they eventually kind of had their own universe, and that's where the comic Exiles spun off from.
Okay.
But I like the What If stuff because they would have stuff like, what if Wolverine was Lord of the Vampires? So you based it on a story that happened, and then you got this character that is like one of the ultimate versions of Wolverine, and he's kind of
what if Spider-Man was fat, and what if
a lot of them were decent takes on stories that. Fans wanted them to go in a different direction. So what ifs they said, all right, well, here's this story if we would have went in this direction. And people were like, oh, this is what I wanted. Or like, oh, you're right. This isn't very good.
The what if comics were great.
Some of them were just like just a way to kill. Some of them were just a way to kill off a bunch of heroes and whatnot and be violent. And that was the 90s era.
Yeah, it didn't mean anything.
But then the characters like Spider-Girl spun out from the popularity from What If, and
it's Marvel, so I will see it, but that's like the least on my list of what I care to see.
I think that it's supposed to. They said it's supposed to focus a lot on the MCU stuff, so you're going to get some hot takes on a lot of those stories. With the actors are supposed to voice a lot of the characters, from what I gather.
Yeah, Haley Atwood's going to be Captain America or something like that.
Yeah. There's like the Haley Atwell that plays Peggy Carter.
Oh.
She's supposed to be Agent America, or is it just Captain America? I don't remember what it was, but that's one of the spins on it. What if she took over instead of forming S.H.I.E.L.D. or something along those lines? Mm. And then I know that this is just kind of like fanfare, but there was a Captain America zombie picture in in the logo part of it. So if they touch on the Marvel zombie stuff, if that's the only way I get it for now, I'll be fine with it because the Marvel zombie stuff is great.
The Walking Dead comic book edition.
I don't know. The Marvel zombie stuff might predate The Walking Dead. I'm not sure the creation of the Walking Dead comic originally.
It's probably
who's still watching Walking Dead?
I deleted it. I deleted it off my DVR, and then right before the season started, I'm like, fuck it, I'll put it back on. But I'm like, I'll give it a few episodes and see if it bores me. I bailed on Fear of the Walking Dead though. I'm like, I couldn't stand the kids on it anymore. I'm like, I don't care anymore.
Oh yeah. It's kind of like it's definitely a lot different now though, and it kind of like picked up pace with the new format with Morgan being in it.
Yeah, and it's like I like Morgan. I like Garrett. What's his face? Doulahan or something was his name. and Dillahunt. I don't know. And some of those characters, but I was like I hate like the video camera like interviews
I
and
hate
things
that.
like. It's like they make it so serious, and it's like you're a fucking zombie show. I don't know. So I kind of bailed on that.
But the opposite side of that, though, is that it's become like more of like a Western. So it's more of like a post-apocalyptic Western now.
Yeah, and I like that take on it, but I felt like the direction they were going. I'm like, I'm bored.
I never got into it, so I have nothing to add to the conversation.
Well, I got to get going to bed soon, but those is fun.
My phone's about dead too, so
right.
Yeah.
But we'll have to follow up like next month on things that we're watching and stuff, because I like these kind of episodes just to catch up on things.
And speaking of zombie stuff, Zombieland 2, going to see it Thursday.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
Oh, is it coming out this weekend? Oh, I don't know.
This week.
I'm going to go see the Misfits on Saturday, so I don't know if I'm going to have time to see it this weekend.
Oh man,
Mama, yeah.
Yeah, the Damned and Rancid and the Misfits. That's a gregreat show.
Yeah, I got it for my birthday, and my friend Chris. And we'll probably do like a review of that after. So that'll probably be the next podcast episode, us talking about that.
I'm gonna go see, coming up in November, Michael Graves is playing locally, so I'm gonna go check him out. It's been a long time since I've seen.
What's he doing though? He's doing his own band thing, or
he's been doing his own stuff, but he plays a lot of his Misfit stuff at his shows. Like he's literally coming like within a half an hour of where I live.
One of these days, somehow, I don't know, like how how his relationship really is with like Danzig, but one of these days they all have to do a show. Like get Jerry Only,
this is the last
Danzig, and Michael Graves.
I think that Jerry Only and Michael Graves had a falling out, so I don't know if that's going to happen. But Danzig came back, so you never know.
This is I think the last Misfits one that they're doing with Danzig and Jerry Only and stuff, because they have like a contract in their lawsuit or settlement that they did that's like 10 shows and that's it. So I think the Garden one is like the last one. So Ray, if you want to go snag a ticket on StubHub.
I know I should have though, because like so many people that I had my opportunity though, because I had people that were like, yo, go see it, and at that point the tickets were still like, I guess fairly reasonable, or what you would expect to pay. But now it's like kind of like if you really want to go, you kind of have to shell out.
Yeah.
A lot more.
We paid like $120 something for Booney seats.
Yeah, the hell was that? That's Comic-Con money. That only gets spent at Comic-Con.
So how much did you pay for your ticket, Brian?
Well, Kristen paid for it because it was a birthday present. So it was like $120 something maybe. So
and what are your seats though? You're getting good seats, or we're
parallel to the stage, so we're not looking. So at least it's that. So at least it's close to the stage, but just high up. So it's,
but you can't bring any equipment though, right? Like cameras and stuff, or
no? I'm just going as a normie, and but
try to do your best with your phone.
But I don't know, because in the past he had those Yandu pouches where you put the phone in there and you can't take it out until the end of the show, kind of thing. But I don't
really?
Ever,
what the hell is that?
That's about? The thing. Well, he didn't, because Danzig doesn't like fucking pictures taken of him. But that was in the past. I don't know if they're still doing that. So I might still be able to get some pictures or video on my Instagram stories at ReadJunk on Instagram.
Shameless self-promotion.
Yeah, you know me. All right. This was fun. Thanks, guys, for talking.
Okay. Yep. Thanks for chatting with us yet again.
All right. Till next time. Later.
All right. Peace out, guys.
All right, peace.